World Café. Why did I choose this method? I was actually taking part in a course which was about leadership, which was very enlightening for me because I didn't feel like I was a leader, but it was about sharing different methods to include different voices. And I'm aware that not everybody gets to have a say at a meeting. I'm quite a quiet person, so I'm not always the first one to put my hand up. So we tried out lots of different methods during this sense of leadership course. I particularly like the World Café. And we use this method in our patient and public involvement feedback project to run a workshop. I wanted to hire a facilitator to run the workshop, but the course facilitator told me I was actually the best one to organize this, as I knew the people, most of the people, and I knew the subject. So again, we could talk about who facilitates a World Café approach. So the principles of World Café, there is a website which was on that first slide. And there are these 7 different design principles about the World Café. It's been around a long time, I believe, in private companies. But what I particularly liked is creating a hospitable place, encouraging everyone's contribution, and connecting diverse perspectives, and listening together. And those are the things that really resonated to me. So we hired a building in a community building in a community centre in Cambridge, which was accessible. We made sure that we sorted out train tickets for people. I ran out into the car park to pay people's taxis. There were disabled spaces outside. We set up the tables with the tablecloths on there. In fact, I'll show you the next slide, which is, there we go. So this is the tables inside the community centre. I had hoped for nice round tables, but this is the best the community centre could do. So we had tablecloths for people to write on, post-it notes for those who didn't want to verbalise their ideas. And on each table beforehand, I've appointed a facilitator, somebody, rather than having somebody who has to pick up the pen on the day, I ask people ahead of time to record the discussions. Each table has a topic. So I had a little label on each table. We had 4 tables in all. And the idea is that an initial group of people discuss a topic on their table. They can then move around to other tables, and the facilitator stays on the table and sums up the previous discussion and then says, would people like to add to that discussion, disagree with that discussion, or add different points? And you keep moving to different tables. So you would have a chance to go onto all 4 tables. So you all get to discuss the different topics. And then once everyone's had a chance to get around all the tables, we come back and summarize all together, the facilitator's feedback, but everybody gets a chance to feedback if they've missed out things. And I take hold of all of the notes, and this is how we came together to produce the co-production, well, no, I wouldn't call it co-production, the guidance for researchers for the patient and public involvement feedback. I'd just like to mention that when I said everybody move tables, a couple of the patient and public contributors, one with mobility issues, said, I can't move, I don't want to move. So we had to face that and ask the group what they wanted to do. And then each facilitator said, well, in fact, it was Martin Lodeman from Involved said, well, why don't the facilitators move around? So in fact, the facilitator moved around tables, so gave each group a chance, which didn't mix it up so much, but it made it more appropriate. Everyone had got their stuff on their chairs and actually didn't want to move around. So it's an example of just being flexible, moving around. Now, if I just go back to the previous slide, the diverse voices in this was that we had patient and public involvement leads from universities, NHS and trusts. We had patient and public involvement contributors. And I tried to get a range of those who are experienced and those who are quite new to patient and public involvement. And we had researchers from academic institutions, PhD students, and also a private company who did consultation for research. And we also had somebody from the regional manager from Involve. We did a little bit of evaluation afterwards, and we've written up some of this so I can share more of that. But I hope that gives you an example of why we chose it, what it involves, how we had to change as we went along. And now I'd like to stop sharing and hand over to Graham or Amanda, who were at those meetings, if you see in those photographs. Amanda on that first table and Graham at the back there, Julia Jones, various people that are part of our inclusive involvement theme now.
Do you want to go
So,
first, Graham, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, hello there. Yeah, I like the idea because simply it meant that you were, as a group, discussing every single topic. Because as the facilitator moved to your table, they brought that particular topic with them, so that you were actually discussing all 4 topics that were presented to us. So it meant that we all had a share in discussing the various topics that were available. And it was, and the, I suppose it helped facilitator because they were well versed in that and were able, with taking their notes, to have immediately the views of each table on the topic they were leading on and were able to guide us. So it was a very nice informal way of actually having a good discussion among, and having the various representatives on each table again made it so that there was a view from all aspects of the profession and the public. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I've done World Cafe before as part of Involve. We did it as well, and I think the way this one was different and the way it was better was we didn't keep shifting the tables, because with someone with autism, I have enough difficulty working out who the several people are sitting on my table at the time in one session. If I have to keep moving table and keep moving groups, it becomes really, really tiring for me, because too many people and too many different topics will give me burnout. So the 2 put together used to be quite hard work for me at Involve. And in the end, I even chose facilitating a table and just stuck with my one topic, because it was easier for me to do that rather than move around and do everything and meet everybody. So there's that. There's also if you've got people moving around tables, and because I'm also deaf or partial, I have hearing aids. So there's sort of access issues with people, whether they can use the hearing loop if it's in one specific place. Also, you have to be able to see all the people on your table, so you lip read if you have to. The other thing as well is sometimes if you're nervous or you're used to being with certain people, if they keep mixing the tables and keep mixing all the people, you haven't got those people who normally support you. So you need to have it flexible so people can sit with people if they need that support. And if they've got personal assistants or whatever, would have to move around with the people. So I think the whole idea of keep moving tables is quite, it can be really, really annoying. Yeah, it works for some, but I don't think it works for everybody in the room. And I think part of it as well, if you do something like World Cafe and you just introduce the topics on the day, some people like to pre-think stuff, and I don't tend to. Sometimes if I do a World Cafe, I'm too worried about who I'm with, who I'm sitting with, and what's going on in the room to actually concentrate on the topic that I'm supposed to be thinking about. So as well, it's having time outside of that meeting to be able to feed in and not feel like you've got to do it all on the World Cafe day, or what your feelings are going to be lost, or your ideas are going to be lost, because, and which is why, yeah, it's nice to have post-it notes on the table, as Elspeth said, but a lot of the ideas come from outside of that situation and that environment. So it's whether there's a way of sort of feeding things in after the event as well, for those of us who still think, oh, what table am I on? Who am I with? Where am I going? Where am I sitting? Can I see people? Is there a pink yellow wall in front of me that's going to distract me? So there's a lot around thinking about people's access issues and also asking people's access issues. So if people can't move to another table, or they're going to find the experience quite quite intense, whether there is a way. So I in the end, I enjoyed it with the facilitators moving to the table, and I coped with it on that day. But yeah, that's my slight reservations with World Cafe. But I do like being able to work on all the different bits rather than just being you working on one topic and another table working on another topic, because then you don't see the whole picture. Yeah. And I like to see the whole picture as well. I get really frustrated when I'm involved in a little bit and then somebody else gets to comment on something else, because I often have ideas about all bits. So yeah, that's my 2 pence.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amanda, Graham, Elspeth. That was great. I think that really got to the heart of some of those practicalities.